What's up? It's Juck.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback. The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those. You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. Hey, welcome into Juck on Bucks on a Friday. We got Chris, we got Juck, we're live. Sorry that we're a little tardy. Listen, this time it was not Chris's car. Chris's car, in fact, drove him to work on time today. It was me. I'm the loser of the day. What's up, everybody in the chat? Appreciate you guys joining us. And we got no Buckeyes game this week, but we got a whole lot of college football to discuss. Chris, how we doing this morning, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Last night, double check, triple check, make sure the car was all squared away for this morning. Got in really early. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna mess it up twice in 1 week. Once a week's probably enough for me. But I'm good, man. You know, it's interesting. I don't know how you feel on the Fridays before bye weeks, but I feel a lot more relaxed, I think.
Without a doubt. And I love it too, because it's like you really get to focus in on everything else going on. Not that I would prefer not having an Ohio State game, but I do, especially on a week where we've got a robust slate of games, because the last bye week,
some really big games.
Yeah, last bye week we had a garbage slate. This bye week we've got some amazing games to, and we're going to get into those. Did I tell you though what Mrs. Juxter did to me, bro?
You did, but I'll let you tell everybody else.
Oh yeah, so she scheduled. We normally don't go out of town this time of year. I don't like to travel during college football season. Not only are we traveling during college football season, but she's got me flying. What's up, P?
What's up, Juck?
She's got me flying on 2 college football Saturdays, both this Saturday and next Saturday coming home. I couldn't believe it, and I got snappy about it. So now on top of flying, I'm in the doghouse. Big time.
See, not everybody gets it, man, but I get it. Like you can vent about this kind of thing with me, Juck, because I understand. What time are you flying back next Saturday?
You're not going to believe it, bro.
Not during the Nebraska game?
I'm going to be on the plane at 1:00. The game starts at noon.
Dog, I will send you. Look, I'm gonna drop off something for you. I will buy you the Wi-Fi pass on the plane.
I hope it works. Thank you, bro. Andrew, yes, I am still in the doghouse. Listen, my old lady is wonderful, and I rarely am in the doghouse, but when I'm in it, that stuff lasts. That silent treatment lasts for it's not even the silent treatment. It's just like that cold shoulder. It lasts for 5 days.
Yeah, you're in it. You're in it.
Things just are not.
What's your favorite kind of pie? I'll make a pie and send it to the house.
Oh, peach, buddy. Got to be peaches.
Peach pie. Oh, yeah. I'm from Georgia, dude. You know, we do that.
That's right.
You're my mom on line 1.
Chris, the AP All-American midseason list came out. At center, our guy Seth McLaughlin, first team midseason All-American.
Yep.
I could not be more happy about this, man. This guy, obviously someone that came in, and we didn't have huge hopes, right? Thought maybe he'd start, maybe he'd move to guard because of his snapping issues. Unbelievable surprise, which is of all the transfers, we were not really counting on him to be an All-American. So that's fantastic. Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs also on there, as well as Donovan and Josh Simmons. Derek Harmon, Oregon's guy, right next to Ty Hamilton in the middle. Wide receivers, we got Trey Harris, T-Mac, and Nick Nash from San Jose State. Then the second team, Ryan Williams, Jack Beck from TCU, and Ty Felton from Maryland. No JJ, bro. I was a little disappointed because Ryan Williams and JJ, if we pull up the tail of the tape, right? And I mean, obviously these are whatever, but 23 receptions, 576 and 6 touchdowns for Ryan Williams to JJ's. Can you even see that with that stupid thing? I'm horrible with this.
Fine, Juck.
There we go. JJ, 32, 553 and 7. Obviously, he's more involved in the offense. Ryan Williams has certainly made some big plays, no doubt. One of the biggest we've seen all year. I don't know, man. You can toss it up either way, but I really don't like including one without the other myself.
mean, especially when you ask Ryan Williams, like, who's the best receiver in the country, he didn't really give an answer, but he said, well, me and Jeremiah are 1 and 2. Like, we are the 2 top dogs. And I would bet you that if you had a draft for all these college teams and it was like pick a receiver, I guarantee you that Jeremiah and him would be 1 and 2 every time. So I was shocked that he wasn't on 1 or 2. I thought he had enough hype to kind of get there, but shout out to the midseason All-American team, dude.
Hey, the Athletic did it too, though. The Athletic did it too. In the Athletic, we've got Caleb on the first team on defense, and we have Seth and JJ on the first team on the offense for the Athletic. So,
dude, Seth McLaughlin's been so good, man. He's a legit NFL guard, man. Like, he's so strong. He's got like a beer belly, but it does not move. It feels like a beer 6-pack down there. He's strong as hell. He moves guys. Like, he's really the real deal. And I think, honestly, like, he's probably better than Luke Weipler was here, right?
I would say so, man. He's so nimble on his feet. He's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
That one play, I think it was against Michigan State, where you saw him chip the one guy, get off, seal the lane on the second guy. It was just so smart, so heady, like a play you rarely see somebody make. He's just so impressive. And on top of that, the smarts that they all talk about, like, he just really leads the room. They're asking him questions. I just love it, man. It's so cool. Chris, Ryan Day chose not to speak to the media this week, but he did do his radio show with Paul Keels and Jim Lachey, a little bit of a different environment. But we did get some answers out of him about the game, a couple of things here. He said that the real issues don't typically come out until you play the matchup games like we just did. And they need to be better in turnovers, rushing yards, and stopping explosive plays. Maybe a little bit of an oversimplification, which is why I'd like to hear a press conference. But anyway, do you think there are any issues that came up that surprised Ryan Day in that game about his own team?
I mean, he said that they weren't surprised. It was kind of, which kind of surprised me that he's not surprised, but I guess you can't say that. That would kind of point to you being not as good of a coach. But honestly, like, if you weren't surprised by Denzel getting beat 3 times as badly as he did, I don't know what to tell you. Because, like, we all thought, I think that you guys thought, while you guys played defense like that Denzel Burke was one of the top 5 corners in America, right?
You would have to think, right? Yeah.
That defensive performance had to surprise Ryan Day about his team. It had to. And if it didn't, it's like, oh, then we've been putting lipstick on a pig this entire time.
Were you surprised by Denzel's lack of makeup speed?
I was shocked by that because he came in as an athlete. Oregon wanted him as a wide receiver, and usually, like, guys that play corner are faster than that. Like, it looked like trying to watch Sevyn Banks catch up to somebody. It's like, is he running full speed?
Shout out Sevyn.
shout out Sevyn Banks, man. It looked like he was running in mud. Or maybe, honestly, Juck, I couldn't tell if he was just slow or jogging.
I was surprised, man. Really surprised. I always thought of him as quite a burner. I got to think that they probably were a little bit surprised. And I don't know what your take was, but I thought that just the overall feel of both lines of scrimmage, it felt like Oregon kind of pushed. They kind of had the edge. I mean,
that Harmon kid's a real problem, dude.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's a real problem.
For sure. He also said that they have to address getting plays in quicker on the road. You got to be lined up, was his quote. Now, we got communication in the helmet for the linebacker. I feel like that this is an issue that absolutely should have been addressed before you went to one of the loudest, craziest environments in the country. That sounds like a real fail. I'm not specifically, I didn't, like, we weren't talking about that after the game, that they weren't getting plays in quick enough on defense. It looked to me like the tempo was hurting them because of fatigue, not specifically not getting plays in fast enough. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I also couldn't tell if, like, Wilk or if they couldn't hear some of the helmet comm stuff. I don't know. But it is like that extra step of communication. But again, if it's being addressed, if it hasn't been addressed by the time you're going to the loudest place in America to play, then that means there was a failure during the week of prep. And that's what I keep coming back to, like, failure during the prep week. Because, Juck, I think you and I both agree this Ohio State team is likely better than that Oregon team. They're likely more talented. And when they lose these games, it's because you're unprepared or bad situationally. And, like, saying, like, oh, yeah, like, we need to, get the stuff in sooner. Dog, that has to be addressed before you go play a team like Oregon, especially at Oregon. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's inexcusable.
Yeah, it almost makes it worse. It's like, dang, were you not taking them seriously? Were you not taking this environment seriously? Like, where's the psychotic, we want to make sure we cross every T and dot every I? And, I see people, talking about, oh, well, like, at least Ryan Day beats the teams he's supposed to beat. And I'm like, well, honestly, like, I'd rather you cross every T and dot every I against the top 5 teams. Forget the Purdue's of the world. Like, do you want to lose them ever? Absolutely not. But to be an elite coach in the big games, you have to cross every T and dot every I. And I've said that now 3 times, and Ryan Day has not yet done it.
It's the truth, for sure. And when you talk about something like that, and I did hear somebody say, Ohio State played them really close, and those players the Buckeyes probably went out there and weren't sure what they were getting into. Like, there's no way you didn't know what you were getting into. I had an episode about Autzen Stadium and how overhyped it was. And I didn't necessarily mean it was over. I meant the amount of effect it would have on Ohio State was overhyped because they've been to Penn State, because they would go in respecting that environment and they would be prepared for it. But saying that makes me feel like maybe they weren't respecting it as much as we all were. But it's all you heard all week, 2 weeks leading into the game, was about the effect Autzen Stadium would have. Mm-hmm. And props to Oregon and props to Autzen. They brought it. They affected it. And it sounds like the Buckeyes maybe didn't quite have everything, like you said, ready to go.
Also, it bumps me out, Juck, just real quick, because, like, I'm the guy that has started the narrative, oh, Dan Lanning can't win the big games. Like, I've been on that, even though I'm a Lanning lover, like you said.
Yes,
I've always been like, well, Dan Lanning kind of gets a pass for not winning the big games. And then for his first big win to be over our head coach, it's like, dang.
It sucks.
It does.
It sucks. They think we're crying about it. We're not, man. I mean, it's definitely a learning lesson. Lesson learned. You definitely aren't going to go out to Autzen Stadium again and not have everything prepared and ready to go as far as that goes. He did say that there was not a lot of finger pointing. Everybody took account for their responsibility, which is good. You love to hear that. Travion Henderson got brought up in this interview. He said there were maybe 2 runs he'd like to have back, but other than that, he played good. No idea why Trey was brought up. He did get brought up this week a lot on social media. There was I don't even know who this young man is, but I think he maybe is a walk-on running back. He was on a podcast and he said this.
Is that, G and Trey and them, they were just talking about, our motto this whole year, we've been just talking about the foundation in this team and the foundation that we're building. Trey said the true foundation is within Jesus Christ. And that's one of the first things that, he wanted to say after, losing that game. And I truly believe that this is just God giving us this obstacle to make this team even better and stronger. I think this loss happened for a reason, and I think that we're going to come back bigger and better than ever. Our faith is going to be even stronger with Christ. What's going on with this team, it's too special to just lay it down, after one game. I think we're going to bounce back from this, and we're going to come back and we're going to go for a run. I think everyone knows that in the building.
Now, I don't talk religion. I don't talk politics. I talk football. This is related to our football team, and we've obviously seen a huge Christian influence on this team from, all the way back to when they were checking into the hotel in camp with all the shirts. You've got the baptisms, the public baptism they did on campus. It's been a big theme with this team. People are seeing that and hearing that and split. Some people are really angry. They don't want that being involved at the forefront of the team. Some people are very inspired when they hear that and feel great about it. My question is, first off, there are some people saying that, like, that's soft. We want them thinking about football, blah, blah. Like the greatest warriors in the world were based on religion, right? So that's not soft. There's nothing soft about that at all. I can understand the point when some people are saying, look, there are some people in there who probably are not religious, and maybe they don't want the captains of the team going to that immediately after the game and talking about their religion. That from that standpoint, all right, I concede you that. All in all, though, I would much rather this than the alternative. I think it's probably a really good thing. Do you think that it's gone too far?
I don't think it's gone too far. I do think though that they've got to accept that when this kind of thing comes out, especially after a loss, it's going to get met with a ton of criticism. I think that's what I think that because it's after a loss, and I think on social media, it's such a polarizing topic that it could kind of be viewed as a distraction a little bit just amongst the fan base. I don't know if too far is the word. I mean, obviously, I'm a religious man, but
For
it
those who
definitely.
don't know, Chris, and I know some people say that, like, but literally, you ran the youth ministry, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I was in charge of family ministry at a church in West Akron for like 6-7 years from like the time I turned 18. Like I've been on like double-digit mission trips. Like I've spent time in Haiti doing mission work, building the library. Like I've done all that and really proud of all that. And I've like mentored like over like 200 young men and I've been in that world for a long time, and that was like my first real job, and I was doing that simultaneously as radio. So I do radio in the evenings or in the morning, excuse me, and then work at the church in the evenings for a lot of the group stuff. So yeah, so I am really religious, but I honestly they're just opening themselves up to a lot, and I'm sure they're welcoming at this point and probably had to have known. So I'm not offended by the people who feel like by the people that are taking this the wrong way, I guess, because I think that you kind of accept that once you open that door. What a hard topic to talk about. What a hard topic.
It is for sure. But, I just feel like because of your background, you are kind of uniquely qualified to talk on it. Everybody says when they bring it up, like they'll preface it by saying, this is what I believe, but like you literally live the life. And I thought that would be interesting to hear your perspective on that, because it is incredibly polarizing. Some of the stuff that you read about, just based on the bottom of that video, incredibly just nasty, horrible stuff. And there are some real reactions to this, like serious reactions. Yeah, they're soft. They need to be thinking of, Jesus isn't helping you get the first down and all that. And then you got the other end that I feel is a valid point. Like if I'm not a Christian on the team, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to feel ostracized. And to that extent, you can maybe understand that you might not want the leaders of the team saying it. Like that's the first thing out of their mouth after the loss. I'm trying to put myself in everybody's shoes here. I try to
take myself to the other scope. Like, what if it was like, how would we feel if it was like a different religion being
right? That's what I try to do as well. Yeah, I try to do that.
Like, what if it was like, what if the BYU quarterback, and I know that's entirely different, but he's Jewish. Like, what if he like kind of took that route after BYU loses? How would it be met?
So. No, it's a great example. It is, but all in all, as a coach and as a fan, I mean, I think this is a great thing, but you got to toe the line, man. You can't, you know what I mean? Like you can't alienate anybody as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Did you hear what Philly? Did you hear what Philly said yesterday? Or
no?
When I read it out loud, we're talking about it, Philly was in our chat, and I was talking to Zach about it because obviously he's like Zach was at Florida when Tebow was there, and like Tebow's kind of widely known as like the most religious, player in recent memory. And Philly said, "Man, I wish I would have thought of this sooner. I would have said, well, God didn't intend for me to make that block if I missed a block on the edge." And it's like, challenge Jack, like, what's Zach going to say to him when he says that?
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, like lighthearted jokes like that, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. But gosh, some of the stuff I saw yesterday reading that, I was just getting so angry, dude. Anyway, polarizing topic. We don't shy away from it here, but again, we don't talk religion or politics. That'll be it for that. It just directly is affecting the team this week, so I wanted to bring it up. Anyway, Ryan Day said that they established the run early and then threw the ball downfield well and mixed that in the second half. The running game, he said that they were running well before the fumble. They had 6 carries for 23 yards, so that wasn't too accurate. A bunch of coaches going to be out recruiting this week. He said that Will Howard threw some nice balls in the red zone and on third down. And then he made it a point to say this is not a wake-up call. And he definitely wanted to, I think, cement that because he wanted everybody to know that they weren't looking ahead. What do you think? A lot of people were saying that this is going to be a wake-up call for them, and he wanted to make sure that he said that, like, this is not a wake-up call.
Do you think this was before I answer, do you think this was a wake-up call?
So it's got to be, right? Because I think that they probably thought that they were going to have their way. So in that sense, yeah, I think it probably was a wake-up call. What I do disagree with is that there's a lot of opinion out there that because of this, they're now going to get it's going to light a fire under them. And I just feel like if that didn't light the fire, like all the build up to that,
and there is no fire, something's
missing. You know what I mean? So, but he did go out of his way to make sure to make that point. This was not a wake-up call. It's interesting. It's interesting. And I love looking behind the psychology of, what he's thinking, because let's be honest, man, whatever recipe he's been trying to get through, it's not working. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to kind of look into that, pull back the curtain.
I don't know. I understand him saying it wasn't a wake-up call. I guess for me as a fan, it was a wake-up call. Like, I feel like it was a wake-up call because I thought this Ohio State team was the team to beat in college football, like I told you. And I thought maybe they felt like that inside the Woody. And so I thought that if I felt like they were the team to beat in college football and they took the loss, I thought that in those walls, they maybe thought they were the team to beat in college football. They took the loss. I think it could be a wake up. Like, this is going to be a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. And that's how I took it. Not like they weren't quite up for the game, but more about like, oh, shoot, like this is still college football. Anybody could beat us any given week, I think. Kind of lasering back in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does. It does. And I also thought that this was the one juggernaut team in college football this year. I thought they would win the game. Didn't think it would be easy. But more so, and again, they still could eventually be that. But when we talk about the game, it's not just the 1 point loss. It's the areas that they struggled in that make me feel kind of sad as a Buckeyes fan. I wanted to see the lines of scrimmage be owned by this Ohio State team. I thought that this was the year we were going to see that in the big matchup games. I thought, I was pretty confident of it, that the defensive line was going to own the line of scrimmage. The offensive line was going to fare very, very well. And I felt like Oregon, for the most part, won that battle. That's the most disappointing part to me, and that's the part that concerns me most moving forward. I felt like this was the year that was going to change.
Yeah, Dawg, I talked about this offseason. Like, could this be the best Ohio State defense we've seen since like the Urban Meyer era began at Ohio State? Like, could this be better than like the 2016 group? Shoot, could this be better than like the 2019 group?
Bro,
like 2019 group,
going back even further
with shiesties and everybody was strapping everything. Everybody was hitting something. And I thought this defense had a chance to be better than that group. And boy, was I wrong. And I guess that's my wake-up call.
Right. I got you. Yeah, people were going back even further. You know what I mean? Like, could this be the best defense since, 98, back into the Cooper eras? Some of those crazy talented secondaries won.
Tressel and Urban said this is the best collection of talent they've ever seen at Ohio State.
True.
So
I forgot.
I guess I the way they were talking, I thought, okay, dang, this might actually be easy till we get to the playoffs. And so it was a wake-up call for me.
Don't want to discount that Oregon is excellent. They were well coached and they are incredibly talented, and their guys showed up in the big moment. Dylan Gabriel was awesome. Ryan Day talked about his run. He said that you got to shut down the space and something. He didn't say anybody missed an assignment there, though clearly that is what happened. Asked about
they said nobody missed an assignment during that long run?
He didn't say that. He didn't say, well, we missed an assignment. He said you got to tighten up the space and limit the air, something like that. But clearly there was a missed assignment there. I missed that play on the coach's breakdown. I shut it off by that point. I was really irritated. So
yeah.
But talked about why didn't he call, or was he wish he would have called a timeout before that squib kick, which he had already discussed that they had prepared for that squib kick. That's why they put Caleb Downs in with that tearaway jersey. So a timeout wouldn't have done him any good. And he said, you just got to reduce your surface area next time. I thought that the speed that kick came, Caleb did everything he could to reduce his surface area. I don't know that he could have done it anymore. I mean, that thing came out so fast. and just hit perfectly. Like, what are you going to do in that situation? Again, just a masterful decision of coaching to do that in that situation, really. To take that shot, you had nothing to lose.
If Caleb can't dodge that, I don't think anybody can, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's tough Borland out there on the kickoff team. Like we're
That
talking
was
about
my
one of the
thought,
best
too.
athletes on this Ohio State team. Like a guy who, Nick Saban said could play anywhere he wanted to play. I mean, shoot, we talked about him being a running back this year. Like he was a great wide receiver as well. Like he's a really big time athlete. So it was just a bullet, dude. Like I mean, at that point, do you try to catch it? Like I don't even know.
I mean, if he can't react fast enough to know what to do properly, like nobody can. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Just a great call. Larry Johnson under fire again, and it seems like this is something that comes up at some point every season, or close to signing day, depending on the class. You get the chorus of people saying it's time for him to move on. Then when things start picking up, you get the chorus of people saying you guys owe LJ an apology. He's the GOAT. And obviously, yeah, there are ups and downs. Larry re-upped for 2 years in the offseason. Next year, going to be the last. I think probably next year, his last year, if, providing, I don't know, maybe something changes at the end of this year. Dealing with the serious lack of production from his defensive line. There's questions about the rotation, questions about the techniques. Seems like maybe a lack of emphasis on the hand fighting we used to see his group be so good at. We rarely see stunts. Last year's class, you had Edric Houston as the headliner, and he's certainly excellent, but Ryan Day kind of had to come in and save the day at the end of that. Without Edric, you had Eric Mensah, a Virginia Tech flip. Yeah. You do end up getting Dominic Kirks later, but it would have kind of been a disaster of a class. This year's class, no headliner, though I think they did great evaluations, and I love this group of guys that they got committed so far. We'll see how that ends up. But where are you standing as far as Larry? We know that there's the issue going on with him and Knowles. I believe that this is something Ryan Day's addressed. We'll see what happens there. But do you think that we're probably running out the end of this 2 years, or do you think maybe this should probably be it? You got any opinions on that?
Yeah, I mean, Dawg, like I love sushi, and I also love pizza. I don't want to eat sushi and pizza together, dude. Like, I love Larry. I love Jim Knowles, but it's become abundantly clear to me they do not work together. They cannot both be here together. If maybe it's egos, maybe it's philosophy, maybe they're just so different, but it just feels like they're not on the same page, and it feels like they haven't been on the same page since Jim Knowles got here. I like them both, Juck. I like Larry a little more than Jim. They can't be here together, man. Like they really can't. Like we're not getting sacks. We're not getting disruption. And we know that Jim Knowles' defense at some level is capable of sacks, right?
For sure.
We also know that Larry Johnson's capable of having a defensive line that gets a lot of sacks, right? So it's like them together are hurting each other, to me, I think.
So you don't subscribe to it's passed Larry by. The techniques he's teaching are not working anymore. You don't subscribe to any of that.
I don't.
Okay. I don't either. Though I do think that the recruiting has been a little, I don't want to say lazy, but I just feel like
Juck. I'll say it. It's been lazy. It has. His recruiting right now is like, let me send you my resume, and then if you're serious about football, get back to me. Not I'm going to be in your ear every single day and outwork everybody in the country. And it works for some kids. It doesn't work for others. Like right. It's good enough to work for a kid like Edric Houston with Ryan Day getting involved, but it's not good enough elsewhere, right? It's like not good enough for Dylan Stewart's and the Lightfoots of the world. So
yeah. All right, brother. Well, let's get into the bangers of the week. But first, I got to play a word from our sponsor. How do you do that, Chris? Do you push this button over here?
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, let's hit one of those words from the sponsor.
Yeah, I didn't know you had words from sponsors in here.
Words from the sponsor loaded up.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to play the word from the sponsor.
Words from the sponsor. Hey, it's Juck, and MyBookie is back with another offer for the Juck on Bucks audience. Open up a new MyBookie account, and they're going to match whatever you put in 100%. Put in $100, they're going to make it $200. Put in $3, they're going to make it $6, all the way up to $1,000. If you're new to sports gambling, we do picks every Friday We are +7 on the year for the Juck on Bucks official picks, and we're going to keep it on rolling. So sign up for my bookie. They're going to match your deposit. Use the promo code JUCK, and we're going to go through that every week, every Friday. Also, if you like online casinos, they're going to give you a $10 free chip for that as well. It's a great sports book. I've been using it for years. If you're new to gambling, I'm here every morning at 9:30. Put a question in the chat. I'll help you. I'm an experienced gambler, so to speak. The key is don't risk what you can't afford to lose, and you'll always have fun. Have some fun with me. Sign up, my bookie, promo code JUCK. Get your free money. I'm all grown up. Look at me go.
Look at that. I'm over here smiling and patting. This is awesome.
We're going to sponsor.
Let's go, Juck.
Oh, yeah, buddy. All right. So, obviously, 2 massive games. And look, part of my show and part of what I've always done is like, I'm a football fan. I'm not a professional analyst. I'm not a reporter. I'm a football fan. I love fan bases. I love interacting with other fan bases. I even root for teams based on how much I like the fan base or not. We got a couple wild fan bases in Alabama, in Tennessee, in Texas, in Georgia. All of them are squaring off. One of these coaches, 2 of them probably, are going to be absolutely lambasted when we come into Sunday, and I love it. Who's got the most to lose? You got some really interesting storylines, right? Alabama, 3.5-point favorite. They head into Neyland. I think this is the story of 2 coaches who are like, they absolutely need it. Both of them do. We talked about Kaelon DeBoer. I made my mea culpa to Kaelon DeBoer with you probably 3 weeks ago when I said, when Kaelon DeBoer got hired, I didn't think it was going to work, but I was more wishing it into existence. I knew he's a good coach, but I thought and hoped that he would screw it up. He didn't. The recruiting class was amazing. They still have the number 1 talent composite. That class just took number 1 over Ohio State and on 3. They start off the season hot. He looks like he's fixed Jalen Milroe and made him into the number 1 quarterback in the country. And then they lose to Vandy, and the things are coming off the rails, man. The fan base is turning. They're mad about his T-shirt. They're mad he doesn't yell at his coaches. He doesn't yell at his team. And then the game against South Carolina at home that they probably should have lost. Amazing. I absolutely love it. It looks like it's falling apart. And let's not forget, almost gave up that win to Georgia. Like, almost gave it to him.
Right.
If it weren't for Ryan Williams, they'd give it to him. So, this dude cannot lose this game at Neyland.
He can't. And you know what? When things would get really he would lose all the shine off this like shiny new head coach thing at Bama if he loses this weekend and Texas also beats Georgia. Because here we go. Right now, you can cling on to the fact that, like DeBoer beat Georgia, and if Georgia beats Texas, that's like, well, our coach took care of that team, and that team looks like it could be the number 1 team in the country, right? Like you can kind of hang your hat on that. But if they lose and his win over Kirby looks even worse because Kirby loses the Sark as well, all of a sudden you're looking around like, oh, shoot. And we know Bama fans will melt all the way down if it doesn't look like their team is contending for a national title. Like, they'll melt all the way down. And now there's an easy target because he wears cutoff hoodies and he wears T-shirts and, he plays rap music at practice.
Oh,
you know.
Listen, that's huge, bro. Like, they look like a team. They talked all off season about how different it was around there and how great it was and all the smiles and Willie the fan coming to practice and all the goofy stuff they were doing and the music. And they look like a team that has just had fun. Like, the defense looks not like an Alabama defense. And on the flip side, again, I came in here a couple weeks ago after the Oklahoma game. We were talking, and I said, I think it's time now, right, that we've now seen Heupel do this with 2 separate teams, 22, and now this year, they're definitely a top 5 team, and it's time to say that this dude has really arrived as an elite head coach. Since then, lose to Arkansas. You let Billy Napier take you into overtime in Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
The offense looks putrid. Their wide receivers that everybody told us were so great on the Tennessee side are non-existent. Nico Iamaleava looks average to just pedestrian, straight up pedestrian. They're not executing. The running back's fantastic. The running game's great, but they won't commit to it. it looks like it's all falling apart. And again, another fan base who's now been tricked. They thought they might be the best team in the SEC. I thought they might be as well. It certainly doesn't look like that now. So on the flip side, I think the Tennessee fans are about to blow on Heupel if Alabama comes in. And let's not forget this rivalry, which I think a lot of people who are maybe your age, didn't see all the nastiness that was in this rivalry because Alabama's just been killing them for all these years. This is a huge rivalry. This one is big time. It's 80. So Heupel, he's got to win this too, man, especially at home.
I agree. I think so as well. If he loses this game, you start to wonder if he enters like that Sonny Dykes territory. Like, okay, we had a really good flash in the pan year, but without our special wide receiver quarterback combo, I'm not sure if we can ever get back to quote unquote the mountaintop or the fake mountaintop, or whatever you want to call it. And additionally, like if Tennessee loses this game and doesn't look competitive, you start to wonder what tier they're going to fall to in the SEC.
Right.
Because it's like I don't know how you feel, but right now I'd pick LSU to beat them. I'd pick Ole Miss to beat them. I'd pick Texas, Georgia, Bama this week to beat them. All of a sudden, that's 5 SEC teams. You're starting to wonder, okay, Heupel with this redshirt freshman quarterback that's supposed to be the all-everything, are they going to be a middle-of-the-road team? And if I would have said this a couple years ago, you'd be like, no, like Tennessee's building a monster. They've got resources. They've got NIL, clearly. They've got lots of support from the fans. They've got an intimidating home field to play at. So for them to be in that second or maybe third tier in the SEC is kind of what they're teetering on. And additionally, like when you're an offensive coach, I can excuse your defense being bad every now and again. I cannot excuse your quarterback looking pedestrian when you are the throw game guy. And I'm almost ready to start a narrative. What changed? They were trending up until Jim Tressel's boy, Alex Golish, left. He was the OC there when they beat Alabama. And now all of a sudden this offense doesn't look near as explosive. Can you say it's Hendon Hooker? Yeah. Can you say it's Jalen Hyatt? Yeah. But also, as the head coach, it's your job to go find the next Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt, right?
Supposedly he had, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to. I mean, shoot, Nico's the highest rated recruit they've ever landed there?
Yeah. Yeah. Nico's Mr. Everything. The wide receiver. Dude, they're not even registering on the SEC ranks, these wide receivers they got. Absolutely abysmal. So what do you think? How's the game going to go? You've got a horrible offense in Tennessee against a horrible defense. I think that that Alabama offense is going to hit a lot of explosive plays on them. Alabama is the favorite on the road, 3.5 points or 3, depending on where you look. I am going to take Tennessee and take those 3 points. I'm going to say they win the game. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Alabama wins, but I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm excited to see kind of what Nico's able to do against a defense that's been struggling a little bit. I asked Zach this yesterday. Who's the best team in the state of Tennessee or Vandy? Right?
Yeah, it's funny. When do they play? Have they played?
I have no clue. I should have that.
We should. All right.
Usually when it's go mode, I have a producer over here. Shout out Project Pat in the corner. That tells me the answer to those kind of questions. Usually buzzes it in.
We need?
Tennessee Vandy. When do they play?
Oh, I got that actually. I got those schedules pulled up. I wanted to pull up the standings actually.
They play November 30th.
November 30th. Rivalry week.
Hell yeah. All right, let's have a look at the SEC standings, Chris. So you still got A&M, LSU, and Texas without a loss. And then just a muddled mess at 1 loss. I mean, this is the week where this starts to shape up.
Mm-hmm.
We find out a ton after this week.
No, we learn. Honestly, we will learn. We'll learn so much. I'm so confused by LSU, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And we'll get to that. They got the big one at Arkansas. So yeah. I'm tracking your picks this week, by the way. So you got Alabama minus the 3.
Correct.
Okay. All right. On to Georgia and Texas. Texas giving Georgia 5. This one, obviously, Sark doesn't have a ton to lose other than maybe they're not who everybody thought they were. one loss not going to matter much. But you and I have both been of the opinion that everybody's maybe overblowing how good Texas is this year. At least I think that's where you still stand, unless you've changed your mind.
I'm going Georgia money line if you want to write that down.
I am also going Georgia in this game, not money line, but I'm taking the 5 points. You got Georgia straight up.
I got Georgia straight up, cuz.
Okay. Now, tell me why. Well, first, I want to set this up with Kirby, right? Like Kirby, I think has been horrible this year. I think he is losing his cool. I think he's lost a quarter of his team that doesn't respect him. He can't rein them in. I think the defense looks like a shell of a normal Georgia defense. I think Mike Bobo sucks. I think that Carson Beck has been incredibly overrated. I think their receivers that everybody told us were 6 deep, and maybe they don't have the Ohio State caliber of talent, but they got just a tier below and they go 6 deep. They're putrid. Everything sucks. They can't run the ball like they normally do. However, sometimes teams like this just find a way to rise up, and that's what I'm banking on. I'm going to take Georgia to do that, and I'm going to take Georgia plus the 5, though I do think Texas is going to win. I'm not going as far as you. I think we got a close game here, and Texas ekes it out.
I think this feels like a perfect Kirby game. This feels like the perfect storm. I mean, I think people have kind of caught on to the propaganda of like painting themselves as the underdog. They're actually the underdog this week. They're also incredibly uber talented. Additionally, I think the way to beat Georgia is what Alabama showed us. A quarterback that's hypermobile and a downfield passing game that's absolutely ridiculous. Right now, Zach did the breakdown yesterday. Quinn Ewers is 17th in deep ball efficiency. That's not good enough to me, at least. I don't think that Quinn Ewers is good enough down the field throwing the football to beat them. And additionally, I don't know how healthy he is, and he's not a threat running the ball. So I've talked myself into this Georgia gets a signature win this year, because right now this is the only time in the last 3 years that Kirby Smart's team has actually been doubted. So no, I got Georgia, and I think we get 2 Sark meltdowns on the sideline because of it.
Chris, I mean, they're not just an underdog. They're a touchdown underdog. You know what I mean?
They're dogs. Hey, they're dogs. Roof, roof.
Yeah, right. That's pretty wild, though, with their regular season record over the last couple of years, for them to be a touchdown underdog to a Texas team that we've still really not seen play anybody yet. You know what I mean? And I hate to use that haven't played anybody thing, but it's
and I want to keep the trend up of the number 1 teams just continuing to lose. Like number 1 Bama lost, number 1 Ohio State lost.
I did want to go over that though. So who are you rooting for in the Alabama-Tennessee game? Do you have a rooting interest in that?
I am rooting for I don't have a rooting interest.
Okay.
I just want to see a good football game.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Tennessee in that game for sure. Okay. I want to see the Alabama fan base continue to melt down. I want to see DeBoer in pain. And I do kind of like the Tennessee fan base coming back up into the world. So definitely I'm rooting for them. Georgia, Texas, I'm definitely rooting for the Dogs. I hate Texas, and I'll always root for the Dogs over them. And that moves us on to the noon slate of games. We obviously got a huge Big Ten banger as Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, welcome Nebraska. Indiana, almost a touchdown favorite, 6.5 points to Nebraska. Now, we talked about Nebraska at the beginning of the season, potentially coming into Ohio State 7-0. We never would have imagined that Indiana would be favorites hosting them. The big noon kickoff would be at Indiana for this game. It's a massive game in the Big Ten. Let's take a look at the Big Ten standings. Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, the only 3 that remain undefeated in the Big Ten. Nebraska still right in it at 2-1. This is an exciting game, man. Matt Rule, one hell of a coach. Dylan Raiola obviously has had his ups and downs, but for the most part, I trust him. On the other side, Curtis Rourke, the Ohio transfer, playing for Indiana. The dude is a straight-up stud. People are talking about him as an NFL prospect now, which is something I never thought that would come of it. Did you know he's 6'5"? I did not. I've seen him play at OU. I didn't realize he was 6'5".
I didn't know until I started looking at like the people's NFL draft rankings, and I went and looked it up because I was like confused by him being top 10. Some people like him better than Jackson Dart, which I was a little bit surprised by, because I was like, okay, like he doesn't have the size that Jackson Dart has, because I don't remember him being that big anywhere. And you look and it's like, oh shoot, like you're talking about a real like NFL prototypical like size and everything.
Can we just like say like, okay, this is what's excellent about the transfer portal.
Yeah, this is a good thing.
This dude would not be getting any of this attention at Ohio. Now he's maybe a top 10 pick, changed his life forever, and also gave us a really good quarterback at a school that needed one that is now the most exciting story in the Big Ten to me.
Yeah.
So that said, who do you got against the number? 6.5. Indiana's the favorite.
I think on Indiana. You know, Indiana hasn't been behind in a game all year.
That's amazing. I mean, they have played a bit of a dog crap schedule, but
yeah,
that is
like they're like one of the. I think they might be the only Power 5 team that has trailed for exactly 0 seconds all season.
Cignetti's the real deal. There's no doubt. How long do you think he's going to be there, dude?
I don't know. He's got like the swagger, but also like the old coach mentality too. I don't like. Do you? Here's the thing. It depends on what job you think is going to open up. Because I don't think he's got an SEC personality, personally. I think he's.
What do you mean? The guy's the most brash guy in the country.
He feels Big Ten to me, and maybe is he SEC to you?
I think he is all SEC. He's so brash. He's cocky. He's arrogant.
If you're Florida, do you think he's a fit at Florida?
Dude, if I was Florida, I would absolutely be going after that guy.
Because I think Lane Kiffin's the likely fit at Florida. Is Cignetti? Cignetti at Ole Miss would be crazy.
That would be wild. He certainly would add some juice to a bigger. I would like him at a bigger school.
I want him in the Big Ten, dude.
Yeah, I get it. But when we talk about Big Ten coaching personalities, I don't know that he fits into, I'll be honest. And it's the same thing I was talking about with Lanning earlier in the week. Like the move that Lanning pulled, can you imagine how that's going to go down at when those coaches are together? Like he's going to be totally ostracized. Like Matt Rule, Brett Bielema, Kirk Ferentz, like nobody's pulling that move against one of their other Big Ten coaches to win a game. Nobody. That's a move that Urban would have pulled. Urban didn't care about that.
SEC personality.
But there are a lot, like the Big Ten coaches. You remember when Urban came in, going after commits at other Big Ten schools, they weren't doing it. Now, Barry Alvarez said that gentleman's agreement didn't exist. It absolutely did, 100%. They did not go after other guys' recruits. Like that, it's still like that very much. Not so much with that particular thing, but no coach in the Big Ten is pulling that move that he pulled against another Big Ten coach. None of them.
How about Cignetti to Notre Dame?
Ooh, I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that.
Doesn't have to move very far.
All right, so you got Indiana minus 6.5. I'm taking Nebraska to get in that number, though I do think Indiana wins the game. And that takes us to the SEC banger of Auburn and Mizzou. Mizzou, a 4-point favorite. This is also a noon game. I like Mizzou to bounce back and cover this game after that embarrassing loss to Texas A&M a couple weeks ago.
I also have Mizzou covering.
I didn't ask you. Do you have a rooting interest in the Indiana-Nebraska game?
I like Kurt Cignetti, but I think I want Nebraska to be a really. I don't know. It depends on how you feel about the resume. I like undefeated in Indiana. Like I think if we catch them at their very highest ranking, that'd be better for us than if the Nebraska's also ranked.
Yeah. So I used to kind of think about, okay, I want them or whoever in this scenario, I would want them to be whoever can be the highest rank to come in when they play Ohio State. At this point, with the new system, I think I got to stop caring about that as much. You know what I mean? I really don't think it matters. I think Ohio State gets in the playoff with 2 losses. So not really as big of a deal when it comes to that with me, but I do love the story. So I do want Indiana to, that's definitely my rooting interest. As far as Auburn, Mizzou, you and I are both going Mizzou -4. I would never root for a Hugh Freeze coach team. So definitely, definitely rooting for Mizzou in this. And then we got kind of a sneaky one. Let's pull up the Big 12. Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham with his huge upset win. They're going into Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a 5-point favorite. I definitely have a rooting interest in this. I always root for Cincinnati. even though a lot of Cincinnati folks don't root for Ohio State.
Yeah.
I root for Cincinnati. But Arizona State, kind of the real deal. Do you got any rooting interest in this one?
I was going to root for Cincinnati, but I don't know if you know, Juck, but my guy Jeff Sims is starting for Arizona State this game.
Stop it. I did not.
Yeah, Jeff Sims getting a start, man. He's got one more in him.
Congratulations for Sims.
Former Georgia Tech quarterback, fed to Nebraska, fed all the way out west.
Gosh, was he horrible last year?
He sucks.
So I'm taking Cincinnati -5. Who you got?
I am taking Cincinnati -5 as well, dude. Jeff Sims is good for 2 picks on any given Saturday.
This Big 12 is wild, bro. BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, all without a loss. You got that clump of one-loss teams.
Dude, Iowa State's a top 10 team.
It's amazing. It really is. Shout out to our Ohio boy coaching him, leading the squad. All right, to the 3:30 window, we got the Alabama-Tennessee game. Opposite that, we got number 24 Michigan -3.5 heading into Illinois. Number 22 ranked Illinois after pulling out that overtime banger against Purdue, which was amazing. It was like 49-50. Did not think we'd see the scoring like that out of those two teams. Didn't think they were capable.
Same.
But this game, I have absolutely no idea how this is going to go. Can Illinois stop this run? Can Illinois score points against this Michigan defense? I just am so confused as to what this Michigan team can do because they've been so – they played really good against Washington, in my opinion. I thought that Michigan team could probably destroy this Illinois team, to be honest. The other games, Illinois wins. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm going to go with Illinois because I'm going to take that 3.5 points with the home dog. As far as rooting interest, obviously, I'm rooting for Illinois. How about you?
I'm also with – did you look at my show sheet beforehand? I'm also with Illinois.
I did not.
Well, I think Illinois is going to – I got Illinois, no problem. That's one I feel pretty good about.
Okay, good. I like the sound of that. All right, Colorado heading into Arizona. Now, one interesting about this game, it's going opposite Michigan, Illinois, and Alabama, Tennessee. It's going to be interesting to see if Colorado, what kind of number they get. I think it's going to tell us how much interest is still in this story because they're still in it in the Big 12.
They are.
And they're going across from 2 really good games. And I'm always interested in the number, how many people are watching, how many people are paying attention to each of these games. But Colorado heading into Arizona, a 2.5-point favorite. I'm picking Colorado to win this game, upset win on the road. Just got a feeling these guys are about to click. And as much as I don't like it, my rooting interest is Arizona. Colorado is going to pull the upset win here.
I've got Arizona. I think this is the game where Arizona tries to target Travis Hunter a lot. I think this is one of the great battles. I thought it was going to be last week, but no, I've got Arizona in this one. I just cannot trust Colorado stopping anybody, dude. Like I just cannot trust it at all, and I feel uncomfortable picking them because they're good to allow 30 points on any given Saturday.
This is going to be an absolute duel, man. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a shootout, like your classic, Pac-12 after dark, your classic, Geno Smith versus Bryce Petty. You got to combine 78 points, and, one quarterback throws for 400, the other one throws for 500.
Yeah, I can't wait to see T-Mac. He's absolutely killing it. Him and Hunter, that's going to be great. All right, on to the 7 o'clock window. We've obviously got Georgia, Texas in that window. Opposite that, we've got LSU at Arkansas. LSU just a 1.5-point favorite at Arkansas, who beat Tennessee in their last big home game. LSU obviously coming off the big-time emotional win in overtime last week against Ole Miss. I'm going to go with Arkansas as the home dog to win this game. As far as a rooting interest, I root for chaos. I'm rooting for Arkansas as well.
Do you trust the Talon kid, their quarterback?
Absolutely not.
Me either. I want to pick him because he's good on the game, and I enjoy playing with him on the game. Yeah, well, I'll roll with you. I'll roll with you there. I got Arkansas. I'm with it. I just hate when I distrust a quarterback that much.
I got you. All right, we got 2 more in the 7 o'clock window. UCF a 13.5-point dog heading into top 10 Iowa State. Iowa State now ranked 9. They're rolling, certainly looking sharp. They got Rocco Becht leading the show. UCF got blown out by Colorado at home. I feel like this is a bounce back game for UCF. I think this game they get the rushing attack rolling again, and I think they get in that number. I'm going to take UCF plus the 13.5 at Iowa State. I do like Iowa State to win the game and remain in the top 10.
I've also got Iowa State there. I'm surprised you're even having us pick this one.
I picked UCF.
You picked UCF.
Plus 13.5, not to win the game.
Oh, no. I think UCF's a bad football team.
So you're taking Iowa State minus 13.5.
Let me look at Iowa State's quarterback's numbers, actually.
Rocco Becht is the man, bro. His name's Rocco. Rocco!
I know. And I saw him do it against Iowa, man. Shout out Rocco. But what's he got on the year? Is he I want to see the interception numbers. One sec, Chuck. Yeah, dude. Rocco Becht.
Rocco Becht. His daddy's half Italian.
If he's got under 5 picks, I'm picking him.
You're picking him under 5.
He's got 3 interceptions. We're good. Give me the 13.
Iowa State minus 13.5 for KD. You got it. Locked it up. And our final pick of the week, we've got Kansas State minus 2.5 going into West Virginia. And let's not forget, let's pull back those standings back up again. So Kansas State at 2-1, heading into West Virginia 2-1. This is a big one in the Big 12 standings. Kansas State, the road favorite. Give me the road dog, West Virginia, in my upset pick of the week. They win, head up, take down Kansas State. My mighty Wildcats. Who you got, KD?
Not so fast. Where's my hat thing to put on? We got Kansas State by 5.
Okay, Kansas State covers for KD. My man. KD, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you joining us as you do every Friday. Good luck on your picks. We will be recapping them on Monday. I will be coming to you live from Juck N Buck's Studios South in Florida. Who heads to Florida after a hurricane?
Yeah, there can only be one.
My man. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you later. Good luck on the show today.
Yeah, appreciate you. I'll talk to you, Juck.
All right, later, buddy. And that was Juck and Kris live, coming to you like we do every Monday and Friday. Having a good time, picking the games. Now, there is another topic I do want to get to today before we go to what do we call the segment at the end of the show where the chat leads the show? So every day at the end of the show, I come on, I do the show, and then the last segment, I go to the comments section and kind of let the chat lead the last 15 minutes. Sometimes it ends up being a half an hour. We need a name for that segment. You guys think about it. What will we call that segment? But first, we've got one more break to get to. Hey, guys, I want to take a second to thank you and Columbus Apparel Co. They are the official sponsor of Juck on Bucks. And over at ColumbusApparelCo.com, you can find a full line of Juck on Bucks merchandise, as well as all sorts of Columbus and Ohio merch. But what they specialize in is screen printing, and it's very easy these days to get screen printing done. You can punch it in Google. There will be 25 options. And as someone who is your friend, by the way, me, and has been in a business where I've had to get this done for 20 years, I promise you something will come back screwed up. Don't go with them. Go with Columbus Apparel Co. for your next family reunion, for your business, whatever you got going on that you need screen printing. Check them out. Use Juck20 and you're going to get 20% off. It'll be done right the first time. Support people that support our community, employ people in our community, and support your 4th to 7th favorite college football show. Check them out. ColumbusApparelCo.com. Thanks, guys. 4th to 7th and rising, I'm sure. Absolutely. 7 catching strays. That's great. All right, guys. So here's the rub, man. Kirk Herbstreit comes out yesterday and on the Pat McAfee show, he says, Ohio State fans giving Will Howard shit. And then he calls it that the 12 to 15% of horrible Ohio State fans that is an embarrassment to the fan base. AJ knows what I'm talking about. And this is not new. This is a part of something I've seen all week. People calling out Ohio State fans. It was on the CBS podcast saying Ohio State fans need to chill out on Will Howard. I do an Ohio State podcast every day, talk to a lot of Ohio State fans pretty much all day, every day. I'm not seeing anybody call out Will Howard. I think the percentage of people calling out Will Howard. So in the order of complaints I've heard about the game and what went wrong about that game, Will Howard is probably like number 6. And I'm so sick of hearing this guy, who, by the way, Kirk Herbstreit being crushed by Florida State for the last 9 months, still to this day, every time he tweets something, they go after him in a vulgar, disgusting way. And he makes videos apologizing to them. There's been like 3. I've played him on the show. This dude consistently wants to take shots at Ohio State and the fan base because of the, quote, 12 to 15% he always brings up. And I got to wonder, man, do you guys think that the percentage of Ohio State fans that are that toxic percent is larger than other fan bases? Or do you think the Ohio State fan base is just larger, therefore that percentage, which is the same as Tennessee's or Alabama's, is magnified? Because I've always been under the impression that what your program goes through kind of shapes the fan base, and each one is individual. But there are some that fall into the same category. And when you look at a school like Alabama and a school like Ohio State, for example, you have got 2 schools that over the last 20 years have experienced very different things, but their expectations and their attitudes are exactly the same. Alabama fans' experiences in the last 20 years have made it so you don't see a lot of the toxicity where Ohio State's fan bases have, along with a lot of the good stuff. And then you can take it to a third category, right? It's Tennessee. Also, the same passion and the same expectations as Alabama and Ohio State. Yes, they do have those same expectations at Tennessee. They're just as crazy. But their experience in the last 20 years, vastly different from Ohio State, vastly different from Alabama. And they're toxic as hell. They're just as wild and off the hook as any Ohio State fans. But you don't see as much of them because I hate to say it like this, but they don't matter as much and they're not as big. I guess what I'm saying is you saw the stuff with Denzel, people coming to Denzel's defense, people taking shots at Denzel after the game. Like, there are idiots and jerks everywhere. You see some toxic stuff under that post I played earlier about the religion thing. Social media has just magnified these idiots' voices. There are jerks in every group. I do not think that it is unique to Ohio State or the Ohio State fan base. There might be more by number, but by percentage, the largest fan base just has more idiots. And I feel like the tribe's under attack, and it's kind of become a cool thing to knock Ohio State fans. Additionally, you got the whole thing with the crying, right? Now, granted, the stuff against, the Connor Stallion stuff, I can see why our rival would sit there and say, oh, you guys are crying, you guys are crying. Oregon, you play a game, a rule gets changed literally 4 days later after the game. I talked about it yesterday. People say I'm crying. Do you think that might be relevant when you play a game and a rule gets changed 4 days later to discuss? Might that be something relevant to discuss? Ohio State fans talk about it on Twitter. They're crying. It's just become like fodder to make fun of the Ohio State fan base. And I can't stand it. You got fans in our own fan base calling out other fans, calling them spoiled and entitled and toxic. Listen, you're not spoiled and entitled and toxic to want your team, who recruits as well, pays as much, does everything as much as teams that are winning national championships like Alabama and Georgia, has the same talent composite, but never cashes in, you're not entitled to want the same as they get. You're not entitled. That's normal. When you have elevated your program to the same bar in recruiting, in spending, in coaching spending, in assistant coaching spending, in NIL for your program, in recruiting, everything. When you are at the same level as the other guys at the top, but they're cashing in, it does not make you entitled to want the same for your program. So I get a little irritated when I see Ohio State fans going after other Ohio State fans, calling them entitled for being irritated that their head coach isn't getting it done when the other ones are. And again, I am not someone who calls for firing Ryan Day. I support Ryan Day. But I don't like attacking other Ohio State fans because they don't agree with you. There are some Ohio State fans. Listen, I think it's totally valid if you are someone who thinks that Ryan Day is not going to get it done and you want him gone. I think it's a valid point. At this point, he's not shown you that he can get it done. Like I said, I support him. I gave him 2 years when he kind of reset the program and reset his philosophy, made a bunch of changes. But if you don't support him because you haven't seen him get it done and you think he's been given many options and you just saw a game where, yes, you lost by 1 point. However, the same problems seem to persist again and again and again. You're tired of getting called soft. You're tired of your team getting called soft. You're tired of losing the lines of scrimmage. It happened again. So if you're sick and tired of the same thing happening again and again with the same result, and you would like to change the regime, I don't think that you're toxic or entitled for wanting that. And I don't think anybody should call you that, to be honest. My guy, Jimmy Jackson, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate you. Jimmy Jackson, is Jackson Cantwell going to visit Ohio State, considering he's the 2026 #1 offensive tackle? That's blasphemous if he doesn't step foot on our campus. Keep up the great work, fellas. Jimmy, I don't believe Jackson has a visit scheduled, but Emmanuel Ahianacho, listen, Jackson Cantwell, very, very good. Emmanuel Ahianacho, better, in my opinion. I've watched both their film. I think he's better straight up. I think he's going to be bigger and thicker, and I think he's nastier. So I'm not sure about Jackson Cantwell if that's going to happen. He does not have one yet, but the Buckeyes are in on Emmanuel Ahianacho. I also think that Jackson Cantwell is going to end up to be a bit of a homebody who's going to stay close to the Missouri area. And I just don't know if it's going to happen. So what do we think, guys? All right, let's open it up to our final segment of the show where the chat leads the show. By the way, guys, Kirby, can we listen to this lady now? Talk about blaming Will Howard. Check this out.
But if you play that Ohio State-Oregon game 10 times, I think it's 50-50. It comes down to really bad decision-making from Will Howard in a have-to-have-it moment, and he made a massive mistake, and that was the difference in that game.
That was some lady from Yahoo Sports on Bobby Carpenter's show yesterday. She's blaming Will Howard. I don't hear any Ohio State fans saying that. I really don't. I really don't. Chumps with Juck? Is that the name of the segment? Chumps with Juck? I would never call you guys chumps. Johnny is enjoying the buck on buck feuds, and he's talking about Bucks calling other Bucks toxic. Boy, it went nuts yesterday with that religion clip. It absolutely went nuts with the buck on buck crime. Juck on Juck eyes. There's a good idea. This is a rumor. Didn't Kirk leave Columbus because he cheated on his wife? This is a rumor I've heard. The rumor mill was insane when he moved out and went to Tennessee. But that was one of the rumors, that it was some crazy Ohio State fan was that Kirk slept with his wife and he was after. I don't know, man. Who knows? Who knows? But it's clear that he has a vendetta against Ohio State fans. And honestly, the fact that he lets Desmond Howard get away with the crap he gets away with on game day and doesn't push back at all, like, it says it all to me. You know what I mean? It really does. What's up, Troy? Juck I love. We'll make it something, Juck I. That's probably a good idea. Shepherd Duck says, I don't think I've ever seen a fan base be so mad over a 1-point loss. Now, this is where it gets into a little more to it, right? Yes, it was a 1-point loss, but it was not so much about the 1-point loss and about the fact that we're seeing the same issues, right? The issue up front. We want to see Ohio football be played, which is winning the lines of scrimmage. And for the last several years, we've seen our rival get celebrated all around the country for playing football, winning the lines of scrimmage. And our team get called soft up front. And as an Ohioan, that hurts me deeply. It really does. I wanted to see the Buckeyes come out, and if they lost by 1 point, but won up front, I would have felt great. They didn't win up front. I don't feel great. Yes, it was a 1-point loss, but that right there really pissed me off. And I hope that changes. You know what I mean? I really do. Mika's with me. She wants Emmanuel Ahianachu. Yeah, they absolutely did run Seth out of town. They ran Seth out of town, and that was absolutely silly for them to do. But I'm so happy for the guy. He seems to have a totally different mindset and definitely be in a really good place. And I'm sure they're happy for him too at this point. Everything's good with them. Rick Brick agrees with me about up front. It's not the 1-point loss. It's losing in the trenches. And there's some other things there that bothered me about the game as well. But for me, that's the biggest part. I just wanted to be able to look and see, like, okay, at least a stalemate, for crying out loud. But I felt that Oregon won the trenches for the most part throughout the night. Johnny thought Ohio State would destroy Oregon in the trenches. AJ Damron, thanks for the 5, buddy. Appreciate you. People who think Oregon exposed Ohio State when they won by 1 point at home by exploiting a loophole in a penalty after we had 2 timeouts are delusional, or 2 turnovers are delusional. So I agree with you, AJ. I don't think that anything was exposed. And if they play on a neutral field, if they played tomorrow, you know, for me, it would be another coin flip game. I think I would probably pick Ohio State on a neutral field. Though I do think if we're talking about either team leaving more out there, I think it was pretty even. I think both teams made some mistakes and left some things out there. Dylan Gabriel missed a wide open Tez Johnson on that goal line stand. The 2-point conversion, the extra point, the interception that they didn't get that they should have gotten, that was on a Buckeyes touchdown drive. So, you know, you can go back and look at a lot of different things for both teams. All in all, I think they both had some areas where they left points on the board. But I think it'll be another banging game, another exceptional game when they play again. And again, there's a lot more to lose from or win, or there's a lot more to gain and improve from when you lose than when you win, because you're much more motivated. And I do think that we're going to see some things definitely change. The problem is when we talk about winning up front, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't. And that's what I want to see the most, which is why that to me is the most concerning. However, I don't believe that Texas is that dude. I really believe this field is still wide open. I really believe that Ohio State can beat, capable of, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, anybody who's going to be there. Now, I might change my mind after we see Texas play a real opponent. They're the last team that hasn't played a big-time opponent of the top teams. Well, Penn State as well. Those two are the last ones that haven't played a big-time opponent, a really good opponent. Sorry, Texas did play a big-time opponent, just not one who's very good this year. Thank you so much, Blue Wolverine. But Texas shows who they are to me on Saturday, and I really don't think that they're going to be super impressive. So I think it's wide open. I think the Buckeyes can beat anybody this year, and it's a wide open year. It's going to be an amazing playoff. It's exactly the kind of season we would want when you got this wide open playoff. And let's be honest, the Buckeyes getting a home playoff game would be amazing. So I would absolutely love it. Troy says, we were winning the line of scrimmage on offense, and when we lost Simmons and Tegra, but he did come back, that's something that worries me going forward. Yeah, and that's the other thing. You did cop a 1-point loss, and no, that's not that big of a deal, but your offensive line now has questions where it was looking amazing. It was 2 weeks ago, even heading into the Oregon game, we were talking about the offensive line as a potential top 3 unit in the country. And all of a sudden, we're kind of in flux where we don't have any idea what it's going to look like. And we talk about Josh Simmons and people talking about sticking his backup in there, Zen Mahalski, and doing okay and holding it down is one thing, and that's great. But you also got to factor in that was the sweet spot of the offensive line where they were running effectively between Donovan and Josh Simmons. It was excellent running there. I mean, they were picking up so many yards, so easy. Holes were blowing wide open. You now lose that, right? You now lose that, and that is a huge part of the offense. Yes, you can scheme around him in pass pro if he's not that good, but you also lose, and maybe that's even a bigger deal, is losing that in the run game. So a huge deal, obviously. Everybody knows it's a huge deal. Mika despises Desmond, indeed. This is so, listen, Nick, yes, you are correct. Lanning is from the SEC. His main thing at Oregon was to establish the trenches SEC style. This is literally how the Big Ten's been playing football for 150 years, right? I don't know why the SEC gets this label of playing hard in the trenches. This is Big Ten football. Like, this is what Big Ten football is. Billy McBride, what's up, buddy? There was fluky stuff all game. Can we let go of the loophole? I don't think the loophole was that big of a deal, to be honest. If you're asking me, you're talking to people in the chat. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I just think that it was a Bush League move. As far as effect on the game, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Ryan Day said he didn't think it was that big of a deal. Will Howard missed Carnell Tate wide open. That's what he said. William De Silva says it's not Oregon's responsibility to do the referee's job. Not sure what you mean. Jay thinks Oregon left more points on the field than Ohio State. That missed interception really made this game closer than it should be. And that's a fair point. It was 100%, in my opinion, a missed interception. Emily said Quinshawn had a procedure on his hand. When, Emily? I had not read that yet. Shepherd Duck says, Ohio State, number 1 defense in the country is what I've been hearing from you guys since the start. And Oregon just dropped almost 500 on that defense. I don't know how that's not exposing Ohio State. You exposed a poor game plan. We can say that. I think there's a difference between exposing a poor game plan and exposing a defense. You know what I mean? What you didn't see was athletically, the team couldn't play. You saw, in my opinion, very poor scheme. Thank you so much, AJ. AJ says, personally, I feel like if we don't fumble that snap, we push down the field with Henderson and the line of scrimmage battle would look a little different. I can't say that you're wrong on that. I can't say that you're wrong on that. That one certainly stung, and that timing really stung as well. And JJ says, losing Simmons is huge because Justin Fry didn't recruit well. I mean, it's even more than him, to be honest. It's even more than him. When you look back, I mean, the cupboards have been pretty bare at tackle. It's been neglected for a while. It really sucks, but it is what it is, man. I'm hearing people talk of George Fitzsimmons. He's got really good PFF numbers, and Zen played okay, and it sucks. It does. Lanning is still young and definitely learning how to coach. It is. He's scary. He's excellent. And I've said before, if I had one choice of a guy to build a program, I think that I would choose him. The young energy, the way that I watch recruits respond to him, it's just different. Alex says, Judkins underwent a procedure on his hand this week, but not expected to miss any time. Do you have any more information on this? No, that's the first I heard of it. Straight up. I've been planning for my vacation here, so I've been a little out of the loop the last couple of days, other than putting the show together and doing the show. So Jordan Birch, this is Oregon's best edge rusher that Shepherd Ducks is talking about. He said the injury is fairly serious. He's not going to play to the end of the year. And that's interesting. I didn't know that either. I thought that was going to be something pretty. So I guess he actually did get carted off the field then, right? They weren't overblowing that, the reports that we heard coming out of practice. Rick doesn't like the idea of one guy going down and now we can't run the ball. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'm specifically talking about on the left side, and no, that doesn't mean you can't run the ball. But again, we're talking about a guy who was potentially working his way up into early second round pick status. Anytime you lose a guy like that, even if you have a really high level guy behind him, you know, you're going to lose quite a bit. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. You shouldn't lose that much. But you're gonna, because Zen Michalski, like, you know, it sucks. It just sucks. No, Rick Brick makes the point. They exposed some weaknesses. Ohio State exposed some of theirs, for sure. Fry will definitely have to earn his money now. There's no doubt about that, Mika. Williams says, I wonder if his hand got injured on the strip by Harmon. No, it was it was rumblings the night before that I got a text that he had broken his thumb, which didn't turn out to be the situation, but definitely rumblings before. So the news about the procedure just came out today. So, all right, my friends, we're almost at an hour and a half. I appreciate you all so much. It's been a wonderful week here at Juck on Bucks, smashing numbers. I appreciate all your support, guys. If you could, please like the video and share with a friend. Help me spread the show. I appreciate you guys that donated the super chats. It's really awesome of you guys. Blue Wolverine, AJ Dameron, and my guy Jimmy Jackson. You guys are awesome. You're all awesome. Emily, thank you so much. I will be in Florida next week, but same thing goes. I'm bringing all the equipment with me, and we're going to have the show at 9:30 as we usually do, because while the show must go on. It's just simply that simple. The show must go on. I can't not talk about college football with you guys. the wonderful Juck Eye crew. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you. I guess we'll probably come on live at some point tomorrow when I get settled in and do a little show during the college football day. But if not, definitely Sunday. But yeah, show as usual next week. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys then. Have a good one. Juck N Bucks out.